Hello, it's Adedoyin Jaiyesimi here, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, I'm going to be teaching you on a topic that is useful for every communications and public relations professional. I saw it on LinkedIn and I thought this would be good content to put on my YouTube channel. I'm going to be talking to you about the PESO model. If you say, Adedoyin, what's PESO model, then you definitely need to keep watching. If you know about the PESO model and you've been using it in your work so far, then definitely you also need to keep on watching because now there is an update, an important update, if I might add, to the PESO model, which you would also find very useful and valuable. And that's what I'm going to be talking about in this video. Now, for the benefit of those who may say, I don't know what this is all about, so maybe some of you need a refresher. The PESO model is a model that allows you to select your tactics across four main streams. Number one, paid media, earned media, shared media, and owned media. And that's where you get the abbreviation PESO. And it allows you to look at tactics. So when you develop your communication strategy and you're about to pick your tactics, you want to think about it in terms of paid media, earned media, shared media, and owned media. Now, this model was created by Gini Dietrich. I'm so sorry if I murdered that name. There's a book called Spin Socks, www.spinsocks.com. You can go and check it out. And she initially released it in 2014, where she really outlined different tactics that can be used by communications and PR professionals to achieve their strategic objectives or their strategic goals in their work and in the campaigns that they do. And it was spread across these main four things. And if you look at the work that you do, even within your organization, you would realize that you need a part of, all of these four things. Some of us focus mainly on paid media. Some people don't even pay attention to owned media. But if you really want to deliver a tactical plan aligned with your strategy and your objectives, you really need to be thinking about it across these four spectrum. Now, here is what it looks like. So this is Dix and Eaton that built on the PESO model. So the paid model, or the paid media rather, that's content that you pay an organization or an influencer to place in front of stakeholders. So if you're paying for influencer marketing, it's going to be under paid media. Advertising is definitely paid media. Advertorials is paid media. Now, there are times in certain climes where you're saying, or you find that you may need to pay certain media platforms for sponsored posts and other things. Those are paid media because they're not earned. Earned media is content that is outside, from an outside source, that comes at no cost to your company. So you put out information about an activity, news, or whatever it is that your organization is doing, and you have media platforms or third-party platforms pick that up and publish a story on it. That is what earned media is all about. So it can be either mainstream media or media that is niche to your own particular industry. And then thought leadership pieces, for example, that will fall under earned media. You have owned media, and owned media, that is content and channels that you actually own and you have control over. It's different from, like, so if you look at your website, for example, you own it, you have control over it. What you just need to do is to continue to renew your domain, right? But if it's like YouTube, yes, you may own the videos, you may record the videos, you may have the content, but the truth is that if YouTube should go down tomorrow, all your content is going down with it. So in as much as you have that video content on YouTube, you must also be thinking about having it on your website or another channel that you have control over. So content that you create and distribute are your owned content and through your own channel. So blog posts on your website, for example, internal communications, podcasts, for example, videos, all of those things. And then shared media, that's where you find, or typically would describe as user-generated content. So it's like a co-created type of content where, like they said here, stakeholders create and distribute on channels you do not own. So word of mouth, for example, social media. So people retweeting your posts, people posting your content on IG stories and all of those things, customer reviews, and then any content that your customers generate, that is going to be shared content. Now, this is what's the further breakdown of the PESO model. So that model shows you what each category is all about. Now, you will see here under paid media examples of tactics, which is why I said this is a tool or a framework that would really, really help you in terms of tactics. Because sometimes people call me and like, oh, what kind of tactics can I use? What kind of tactics would be applicable? If you think about it in line with this model, and then you break it down and see which would be relevant for the objectives that you want to achieve, then it makes your work a bit easier. So if you're looking at paid media, for example, and another thing that I must point out is that you must also think about the intersecting points. So you can see here, there are intersecting points that it's a combination of owned and shared, or a combination of shared and earned, for example. So tactics under here, paid media, you have Facebook sponsored posts, sponsored tweets, or X now, lead generation and all of that. Now, this is the actual PESO model that was created by the Spin Socks. So there have been different iterations, but I wanted to show you the first one that kind of explained what each of the buckets is, and then this now breaks it down. So in this intersection, you have brand ambassadors, affiliates, brand ambassadors, sponsored content, native advertising. And that's a mix between paid and owned, because some of this content, like if you have a brand ambassador, for example, you're most likely going to pay them, but you're also going to give them your content to be able to promote. Almost similar to influencers, but it's a bit different. And then you look at your owned media, which is your content, so expert content, ebooks, case studies, reviews, brand journal. So you can see all of the tactics there. Then at the middle point, you also have speeches, appearances, keynotes, panels. And this is in the middle because it's content that you own, but it's also content that can also be shared. So imagine your CEO has gone for this conference and puts out a lot of quotable quotes that people are tweeting and retweeting. That's something that is shared media. Earned media, from there, media picks it up. And then you can decide, you know what, this thing was so good, we want to do a media blast on it, or we want to do a sponsored post on it. But to be honest, if you do something that already has shared and earned media, you don't need to spend so much money on paid media, but maybe that's a different conversation from another day. And what then that does for you in the middle, and I will talk to you about it in the updated model, is that you then begin to build authority. So you have optimized content, shareable content, engaging content, Google authorship. You have earned media that is about public relations and publicity. So you have your media relations, for example, blogger relations, influencer relations, investor relations, I beg your pardon, and influencer relationships. Now, they put influencer engagement in the middle between shared and earned media. I think a lot of times, depending on what your influencer strategy is, a lot of times companies approach it as paid media, but influencers should be collaborators. And when they are collaborators, you will then find that they fall into the middle of shared and earned media. Maybe I will do another video on actually the right strategy you should have towards engaging influencers and making it somewhat organic for your organization, as well, as opposed to it being advertorial, because that's when it becomes obviously paid media, right? And then you have partnerships, which is in the middle of owned and shared media. So sponsorships, CSR, co-branding. So when you have co-branded events, for example, with organization or platforms, brands that align with your organization, that's what will fall under there. And the obvious example of shared media, which is social media and all the different social media platforms. So that is what the model before 2024 was. Now, what has changed? I really like the fact that the updated model really reflects a strategic perspective, because more and more it's becoming important for us to think strategically about the work we do as communications and public relations professionals. And that goes right from setting your objectives, developing your strategy, picking your tactics, measuring, and reporting. So this model, the updated model, they are now adopting a strategic perspective, which is a win-win for everybody. Now they are emphasizing outcomes as opposed to just, oh, here's what you will put out. And if you watched my strategic communications video, you know when you're setting your objectives, when you're reporting on impact, it is not just about your outputs, it is also about your outcomes. What happened as a result of this press release that you put out? What happened as a result of these events that you planned? You want to be thinking about outcomes. So that's something that has changed with this model, which is good. So the outcomes there emphasizing in this updated model is credibility, distribution, storytelling, reach, community building, SEO. By the time I show it to you, you will see it. And they also emphasize that the strategic use of the PESO model would lead to the following: experience, expertise, authority, and trust. And these are critical for any organization. I mean, look at it. If you're able to build trust, trust is at the center of reputation management. Without trust, you don't have a reputation, and you also do not have a license to operate. I talked about it in the video on articulating the value of communications. You want to show authority, you want to show your expertise, you want to show your experience. So those are some of the changes. So here's what it looks like, the updated model. So you can see that it's more robust than the former slide that I showed you, and it's different. So it's not just about listing the tactics, it's also helping you to think about what you can achieve with those tactics. So you can see up here, expertise, experience, authority, and trust. So if you start here, pay to play, looking at media relations, influencer relations, event marketing, influencer marketing, experiential marketing, Marcom. This comes as a result of paid media. So they're saying with paid media, you can grow reach. That is your outcome. So we are engaging on paid media to be able to grow our reach. We're doing digital ads, we're boosting our content, we're doing native advertising, we're doing sponsored content, content distribution. So you're already thinking that, okay, I want to do paid media, and this is an outcome that I can achieve. So they're helping you to think, right? And then they're now helping you to see another layer of contents that will come under, or tactics rather, that will come under paid media as well. Same thing with earned media. They're saying, look, an outcome here is credibility, and referrals, link building. You can see media relations is there as well. So you can have a broad, you can have different outcomes using different channels, but you must be able to articulate it. You're looking at investor relations. So all of those things I said before, but you can see they're more streamlined. And then you can now see the emphasis on community. Community is something that has been a trend. No, I don't even want to call it a trend, because sometimes you feel like trend fade, but it's become very integral to any organization. How are you building a community of fans, a community of loyal customers, a community of people who really, really are completely committed to your organization, to the brand and services that you produce? So you're looking at reviews, co-branding, partnership, community building, brand ambassadors, user-generated content, CSR. Then you come on to the shared media. Shared media is about distribution, because think about it, it gives you visibility, it helps you to push out more information about yourself, about your organization. There's also brand awareness, so that's social media, social mentions. I don't want to go through everything because I've spoken about it before. And then you're thinking about search engine optimization. When you're engaging on socials, you want to think about that. And then you can see here, voice search, content curation, content distribution, partnership. So for me, by the time I create my strategy and I open this, it's helping me to say, okay, I want a bit of paid media, this is going to work. I want earned media, this is going to work. I want shared media, this is going to work. And then I want owned media. Owned media is about your brand narrative. You know, a lot of us neglect our own channels, and it is important to pay attention to your own channels, because in fact, when I'm doing a strategy, I always like to start with the owned. What do we already own? And how do all the other three buckets come back to the owned media? Because it's what we own, it's what we have control over, right? And so that's your blog, your website, your content, your storytelling, brand journalism, internal communication, search generative experience. So when people search for you, your organization on Google, what is the story that they see? What do they even see about your brand? Some of you need to go and do that. Go and search for your organization. You'll be so surprised at the thing that you see, the inconsistencies that will come up. And then, of course, generative AI, because we can't have conversations today without talking about AI. But what I also like about this model is that they're also talking about lead generation. And you know, now people are asking, what is the return on investment on your communication and public relations activity? You must be able to show how, yes, you may not be able to link it directly to sales, but how is it generating leads? This content we put on this website, how many people read it? And how many people, because they read that, signed up for certain things, or attended an event, or signed up for a program? And you must be able to show that. So the lead generation tactic you can use: email marketing, inbound marketing, affiliate marketing, sponsor content, native advertising, but you must be able to see the linkages. So all of these things cannot be used in isolation. you have to think about it holistically in terms of the strategic objectives that you want to achieve. But what they have done with this model is to say, look, here are the things you need to consider, and then you bring it together in your tactical plan to achieve whatever objectives that you want. And I think it's absolutely, absolutely brilliant. And so the strategic outcome is that experience, expertise, authority, and trust. This is a direct quote from Gina. And she says, when you use an integrated PESO model program, you build credibility, reputation, authority, and increase your website authority and improve search rankings. Because again, thought leadership is also a critical part of what we want to see. You want to see that your organization is a thought leader. You want to see that your organization is at the forefront of conversations, positive conversations within your industry. And then she also says it helps you demonstrate experience and expertise while you build authority and trust. This allows you to demonstrate how your work correlates to sales. And think about it, if you've built credibility, you've built your reputation, and you're demonstrating your experience and expertise, this means that you are really positioning your organization as a thought leader, and then you are building trust. And all of that comes into the lead generation funnel. So again, for me, when I read this updated PESO model, I was like, this is so fantastic because, we need all the tools and frameworks that we can get to really help us to achieve the objectives that we want to achieve. So this is a more streamlined version, rather. So this is a more streamlined version of this. So it really just tells you with earned media, you're looking at credibility, but at the intersection, you have pay to play, your paid media, which is to grow reach. At the intersection between paid and owned, you have lead generation, owned media, brand narrative. At the intersection, you're looking at search engine optimization, shared media distribution. At the intersection between shared and earned, you have community. So thinking about your tactics in this broad framework would really, really help you to streamline your results. So this long story that Adedoyin has given you, what exactly does it mean for you? Number one, please don't choose tactics for the sake of choosing tactics. Don't just say, oh, sometimes people call me like, I want to do a social media campaign. I want to choose or do an influencer marketing campaign. And I always say, why? Why do you believe that that's the most important tactic or that's the best tactic in this particular scenario? By the time you go through the process of doing your research, of developing your objectives, of creating your strategy, and then using the PESO model to really outline which tactics will work best for the outcomes I want to achieve, you'll realize that a more strategic approach will help you to articulate the impact and the results of whatever it is that you want to do. Put the outcomes that you are seeking to achieve at the forefront when you are choosing tactics to go for. I cannot tell you whether influencer marketing is the best tactic. What do you want to achieve? What is the outcome? What does your organization want to achieve? What is the most important metric for your senior leaders? That will help you to say, okay, this tactic is going to help us to achieve that. And then pay attention to how well you are blending different types of media. Don't just focus on paid media alone or owned media. Owned media, for example, your organization is new and you want to focus only on owned media, you're going to find that you're talking, but nobody, like you're talking to yourself, you're talking in the dark. But if you say, we're just starting out, let us leverage owned media, then we use shared media to distribute this content that we are creating. And then we spread it across. And then from there, as we do that consistently, we can begin to position for earned media and then maybe also leverage paid media, leverage certain influencers, depending again on the outcomes. But it's most effective to really have a good mix of the four types. Now more than ever, I don't know any effective strategy that just incorporates just one or two. It's usually a nice mix between the four of them. So I'm going to wrap up with this quote, which really buttresses the point I was making before. And it's also by Gina, the creator of the PESO model. She says the most important thing to remember is that the PESO model is like a table with four legs. You must build each leg solidly or the whole thing will just collapse. Just like you can't build a home without a foundation, you can't have a fully functioning PESO model program if you only use one or two media types. So you want to have the four. You want to think more holistically. The balance of, which one do we prioritize or which one do we pay more attention to, again, depends on your objectives and what you want to achieve. But at least when you have that diagram in front of you, you can say, okay, this can work, let's mix this, and then let's see how it helps us to achieve our goals and our outcomes. So I just wanted to do this quick video for those of you that don't know about the PESO model, or you know about it but don't know about the update, or maybe you've seen the update and you're like, why is this important to me? It is really, really important. In the description of this video, I'm going to put the link where you can go and read more, download the assets, but most importantly, begin to apply. Thank you so much for watching. See you on the next video. Bye.